Hey guys, Richard here with Downgrid Survival. This is a video that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks that I've been promising that I wanted to do. Um, here's the deal. This is a video that I've been preparing for. I've been doing a lot of research, and the more research I've done, the more ideas I got for this video, and the more complicated it got. And I come to realize that I'm going to have a hard time, doing the video that I wanted to do, and the time is just gonna drag out. But here's the honest truth. The information that I have, I want to share with you. So I'm gonna do it right here, right now, and forget the idea of filming it in studio and that sort of thing. For those of you who are new here, I'm a one-man show. I don't have researchers. I don't have content writers. I don't have audio and visual guys that help me out. I don't have video editors. I do it all myself. And there's just not enough time for me to do everything that needs to get done, present this the way I wanted to present it. Now, I don't know how long this video is going to be because I have a lot of thoughts. I've got some of them jotted down on notes that I'm going to refer to. But again, the most important thing is that I get this information out there. So strap in, stick with me, because we got some important things I want to share with you. Now, and I got little man Toby here, so if you see him bouncing around, he's joining me today. So the purpose of this video is to kind of hash through a little bit about what's been happening in the past versus what's been happening now and what's going to happen in the future. I'm going to connect some dots with you, for you, and to help you understand bigger picture what's happening. And I have to tell you, once I started to realize that, the feeling that came over me when it all came together, I won't say it was overwhelming, but it was a little bit earth-shattering. Okay, everything makes sense to me now. And for what I'm going to share with you, some of you may have already connected these dots. I mean, certainly some of the things I'm going to talk about, we all know. But hopefully at the end of this video, you kind of have that aha moment as well. But for those of you that have already had it, good for you. I've only got the few brain cells that I was blessed with when I was born, and sometimes I'm late to the party. But let's just leave it at that. So, for a lot of folks, our world changed when the big V swept the earth. That's when people really started noticing all the changes that were going on around them. But the reality is, things started happening and things started changing long before that. We just don't recognize it and didn't see it and didn't connect those dots. And most of us by now have heard about the Great Reset and the New World Order. And some people still are trying to dismiss it as conspiracy theory, and it's not. It's now widely talked about among governments. It's now widely discussed in open forums. There's videos of these meetings that have taken place at the World Economic Forum that discuss the New World Order and how that's all going to come about. So understand that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, was first established, I believe it was like back in the 70s. Okay, so this has been around a long time. It's just been slowly evolving to what it is today. So, again, a lot of these things are, the stage has been already set for decades. Even back in, I ran across some information this weekend, it was even back in the early 1900s that studies were done, papers were written, so there's documentation where government officials, not just here in the United States, but around the world, had discussions about population control. There was a concern that the earth at that time was becoming too populated, and they wanted to control or curtail the population in order to conserve resources. And so, again, this is something that's been ongoing. The thought process has been there for a very long time. So let's just jump back. Let's just move forward now to modern era, what we know over the last few years. So what's been going on the last few years? We've had the big V swept the earth, disrupted everybody's life on the planet, kind of turned things on its head, really disrupted supply chains, really wreaked havoc with our economies. and really got the ball rolling. It really kind of churned things up, okay? So we know that has already taken place. We also know that particularly here in the United States, there were other things that were taking place about that same time. We started having a bunch of riots, okay? We had organizations like BLM and Antifa rise to the surface and quickly grew in popularity, okay? Became well known, and look at all the damage that they have done. It's just spreading hatred and discontent and chaos. And if you remember during those times, remember that there was things that were happening that around those riots where bricks and baseball bats and things would magically appear before these riots would take place, and they would just kind of show up. Remember how we had people here in the United States, government officials that were on video coming out and saying that they were promoting violence. They were telling people to take it to the streets. They were telling people to burn things down. So they were really kind of stirring the pot and really trying to cause chaos. Then you got to look at things like most recently the attacks on the Supreme Court justices, and again, government officials calling for people to go and riot at their house and call them out in restaurants, and other government officials just blatantly saying that the Supreme Court needs to be abolished and needs to be done away with, which destroys everything about our government and our way of life. If you start taking away that level of authority, things just fall apart, right? So we have these kind of things going on, and there's just dozens and dozens of other things. Right now we're facing the food crisis. We're facing an energy crisis. We're facing climate change. We're facing the threat of war. Our borders are wide open here in the United States, and people are being invited in. When all these things were happening, let me stop right here. And I told you I was going to jump around a little bit. I'm doing my best, so stick with me. Let's consider for a moment the elections. A lot of people are saying that the elections were rigged and the elections were stolen. There's a lot of people saying, no, that's conspiracy theory. No, it's not happening. Well, initially, I was really concerned about what I was seeing, and I felt right away that things were probably, that the election was probably stolen. There was just no doubt in my mind. Now here we are a couple years later, and we've got proof. We have proof now that the elections were stolen. Yet there's a lot of people in strict denial saying, that's conspiracy theory, no, that didn't happen, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and we keep hearing this. That's fine. They can believe what they believe. I can believe what I believe. But when there's video proof, electronic data proof that shows some of the things that were taking place, we know the elections were stolen. So now we have leadership in place that is demented, have no clue what they're doing, and they're making policy changes that seem to be really hurting the United States. So from day one, policies were being reversed that were already in place, and things were just, remember that feeling you had? It seemed like everything that was happening was deliberate. It seemed like all the bad decisions that were being made were just deliberately going to harm the United States, right? Why would they do that? And I found myself asking the same question numerous times. Why would someone deliberately do some of the things that they're doing knowing that it's going to cause problems? And it just didn't make any sense. And I just kept going back to the idea it's just bad management. They just don't know what they're doing. And a lot of people today are just on that mindset. They just don't know what they're doing. The advisors that they have in place are not experienced. A lot of the people that are in place in key positions in our government have no experience to be there. The most common one right now is the White House spokesperson, right? Just a complete idiot, doesn't know what she's saying, and doesn't know how to communicate with people, has no business being there. But that's the same thing with DHS and just a number of the government heads. They just excuse me, people were picked because of their color and their background, and they were just kind of installed. And none of this made sense. And a lot of you are sitting there thinking, yeah, Richard, I agree with you. It just doesn't make sense. It's going to make sense here real quickly. I'm going to bring it together for you. So we have all these things going on, and I'm going to refer to some notes here because I want to get the important stuff out. I'm not going to remember everything, but I'm going to get a lot of this stuff out. So here's a few other things that have happened recently that didn't make sense. Okay, so we were oil independent here in the United States, which means we didn't buy oil from anyone else. We were producing everything we needed under the last administration. That was reversed. Now we are in an oil crisis, and not only are we in an oil crisis, many places around the world are in an oil crisis. So while we're in an oil crisis, why would we take our strategic oil reserves, which is designed to support the military apparatus in the event that we go to war, why would we take that and release it to the public, number one? More importantly, why would we take those oil reserves and sell it to someone else? Well, a lot of you are thinking, well, it's about money. Well, to some degree it is, because I'm sure the big guy is getting his 10% by selling the oil reserves to other countries. It's going to make sense in just a minute. Stick with me. Let's see. We've got all of these things have accumulated to just outrageous inflation and now food shortages. Let's think for a minute about just the food crisis alone. So we got the war in Europe that is affecting a lot of grain, and it's also affecting a lot of fertilizer. We've got, mysteriously, well over 100 now food processing plants that have, for whatever reason, burnt down. We've got cattle, we've got sheep, we've got goats, we've got pigs, we've got the bird flu, we've got all kinds of things that are just destroying and decimating cattle and disrupting our food supply. We've got, on top of that, we have things like aside from the high inflation that's driving prices up for farmers, the high fuel, the high cost of fertilizer, the shortages of fertilizer, all this is causing farmers to not be able to plant. They're not bringing in the crops that they would normally bring in, which is hurting our food supply. Then just this weekend, you start hearing things like the Prime Minister of Canada saying, well, we're going to curtail the use of fertilizer because we're going to help save the planet. So in the middle of a food crisis, now you have leaders around the world wanting to curtail the further use of fertilizer, which is going to harm things. You got what's going on in Netherlands right now, where the government there is trying to take away all the farmland because they want to grow mega cities. So they want to build these mega cities and use up all this farmland and take the farmland away from farmers who are growing food and putting food on your table. So none of this makes sense. But I'm telling you, it's all deliberate because it's all part of the plan. And I'm going to share something with you here real quick. Let's go back to the media here in the United States for a quick second. The media, for a long time, everybody knows you can't trust the media anymore, okay? And it wasn't that long ago that you could turn on most any news channel and get a viable story, and yeah, it might be slanted a little bit, but you get the news. You kind of get an idea of what's happening in the world. These days, you don't know what's happening in the world because it's being censored so much, and it'll make sense to you here in a moment. But the powers that be, the deep state, the elitists that are trying to rule the world in one government are controlling the narrative, controlling what you see, what you hear, in order to groom you, basically. I'm going to stop right here for a quick second. I'm going to pop up a video. It's going to be a short clip of a video because YouTube doesn't allow me to play the whole thing because of a copyright issue. So I'm going to show you a short clip. Then I'm going to drop a link down in the description below so you can go and watch the entire video. Some of you I know have seen this. Many of you probably haven't. It's a video that has been out for quite a few years. But to help you understand in the short clip that you're going to see, what it is it's a compilation of news outlets all across the United States telling a story about something, and they're all saying the exact same thing. I'm not saying they're just talking about the story in general. I'm saying they're using the exact same words. And we all know that, NBC, ABC, CBS, all those old networks, they had all their subsidiary outlets that were in all these small towns and cities across the United States. And so certainly, a big story would air, and then the affiliates would also air that same story. You know what I'm talking about. But now we're talking, what I'm talking about here is a story being pushed at every level of the media, from the big networks down to your local TV stations, and it being scripted to the point where they're reading scripts saying the exact same thing, but it's across all networks, it's across everything everywhere, because everybody wants to tell the exact same story. Because when you keep hearing, this is just common, this is just nature, I guess, but when a person keeps hearing the same thing or seeing the same thing over and over again, they begin to believe it, and they begin to see it as truthful. Okay? That's how we've been groomed, and it's been going on for years. Here, watch the clip.
We're extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about trouble and trending irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely...
Okay, make sure you go down and click on the link down below. It'll probably be link number 1, and go watch the entire video. It's a little lengthy, but there's numerous examples in there of how the media is being controlled by very few people to tell this exact same story. And by doing that, it has really shaped our society, and it has really changed the mindset of a lot of people who are a little closed-minded maybe, and not so open-minded, but a little closed-minded and just believe the things that they see and hear. So that there alone is destroying our society, but it's part of the plan. It's part of grooming everyone to be more accepting and to do what you're told to do. A prime example of that is when the virus swept the earth. It's been known for a very long time that cotton shirts, cotton material, will not protect you from a virus. The only thing that protects you from I said the V word, the only thing that protects you from the big V is medical grade mask and full face respirators, that sort of thing. Yet the narrative that was being pushed by everyone is, oh, you just gotta wear one, you just gotta wear one, you just gotta wear one. And it didn't matter what you were wearing. You could wear your bandana, you could pull a scarf over your head, you could make whatever you wanted to out of whatever material, and it wasn't protecting you. But the idea was to get you to comply, to train you to do what you were told to do. I firmly believe that now. At the time, I didn't. I was thinking, they're just grabbing at straws, trying to do anything to kind of slow this thing down because it's so horrible, it's so horrific, and there's just not enough mask out there for everybody, and so do the best you can and double up and triple up and whatever to help slow things down. But the reality is a virus is so small, it'll go through, cotton material. And that's what most people wore. They would wear cotton material. So it wasn't doing anything. And don't even get me started on the whole big V, because what we know now is, remember how they just pushed everybody to get it, and they still are. They wanted everybody to get it. Why? Well, probably one, for compliance, just to get you to do what you're told to do, because maybe there's something else that's going to come down the line that they want you to take, and they just want you to just get in line and take it, right? That's my theory. Oh, there's conspiracy theories that say, hey, maybe they gave you something in that, maybe there was microchips or whatever. No, I don't think that was the case this time. I really don't. I think this was a precursor to see, how many people would comply and how many people would push back against it. Remember, they were even bribing people, trying to give people money and prizes and stuff. just to take this thing, even though it was unproven, untested. Does that make any sense at all? And now look what happened today, or not, what's happening now. You get all these people that have gotten sick, all these people that are having just horrific side effects, and it's being denied. It's not being talked about in mainstream media because they're controlling the narrative. But if you take a moment and do your research, and I'll try to drop some of these links down below too, there are links out there from doctors all over the world saying there's some pretty horrific stuff going on here. Wayne Root put out just this weekend. Wayne Root, he's a talk host, conservative guy, and I don't follow him typically. I mean, I've heard his name and stuff, but I haven't really followed him. But he put out a story this week alone that was just a bit shocking. Apparently, he himself got married about 8 months ago, and in the last 8 months, 33 of his friends and family members have died. His research, when he went back and started looking and digging, found out that all 33 of those family members and friends were fully, okay, they had them all. And now they're gone. And he also alluded to, take a look at the news, go out on ESPN and TMZ and some of these other places, and take a look at all the star athletes, all the people in Hollywood that are dropping dead from heart attacks and strokes. And there's a lot of them. And they were all, right? The UK, in that same article that I read that had this information, there was a link to an article from the UK. And I don't remember exactly, I should have looked this up before making this video, but I believe it was 93%. If I'm not mistaken, it was 93% of the deaths in the UK recently were all people who were triple and quadruple, right? And we've heard this for a while. We've been hearing this for months, that there's more people in the hospital that have been fully versus the people that haven't been. Is it by design? Yeah, I think so. I think it's part of that population control. I think as time goes by, we're going to continue to see more and more people that die young from various things. There's countless situations that have been shared online and by individuals and people saying, I've never been this sick before. I've never had the flu before, and I've had it 3 times since I had the, and these kind of things just keep happening, and this information keeps coming out. There's a lot of information out there if you just look for it a little bit and don't rely on mainstream media. Okay, here's another big one. Why in the world would we pull out of Afghanistan the way we did? Why was that decision made to leave what was it? Like 40, I forget now, like $40 billion worth of equipment? Well, it's part of the plan. We left so much stuff, and it wasn't just for the Taliban. China and the Taliban are like this. And everything that we left, you bet a lot of it fell into the hands of the Chinese, deliberately so they could get access to our technology so that they could learn how to defeat it. More about that in a second. Let's see if there's any other ones here I want to bring out before I bring this together for you. I know this video is getting long. I told you it would be. I'm going to bring it all together here real quick. Let's see here. We talked about food shortages. We talked about the energy crisis a little bit. We talked about, big tech censorship. Again, that goes along with that media clip that I showed you. It's all about controlling the narrative and only getting certain information out there to get people to think a certain way. Okay, so I guess, I'm just, so many notes here, so much information. Open borders is another one. Why does it make sense just to open up our borders to let everybody come in? Knowing that it's going to cause so much harm and so much disruption. A lot of people are speculating, it's for it's for voting. Okay, it's how they're going to buy votes. Well, I think it's kind of turning out, it's backfiring. If that was the case, it's starting to backfire because some of the polls and things like that, especially from the Latino areas of the country, they're really, the polls are showing that they're not going to vote Democrat, right? They're not voting that way. So, but that's not the reason. It wasn't to buy votes, because here's the thing: they don't need to buy votes. They already stole the election. They know how it was done, and you can bet they've got a more elaborate plan in place. Everything that I'm telling you is going to come together in November. Okay, if you don't believe it yet, if you don't believe some of the things I'm sharing with you, wait till November. With everything that has been happening, our country is on the verge of destruction. And if for somehow the left magically gets reelected, then you're going to know. Then it's on. Okay? All right, enough about all this stuff. Let's bring it together for you. I keep saying all this is deliberate, all this is part of a plan, and here's why. Part of the World Economic Forum's outline of things that need to happen to bring about the changes in 2030, the whole reset, the whole world order, one government. How can you have one government ruled by unelected elitists if you have a world superpower that's in the way? For decades, the United States of America has been known as a superpower for many reasons. Not because of the strength of our military and the projected power that we have all around the globe, but because of our strong economy. Up until just a few years ago, because of our strong morals and beliefs. It's why everybody around the world revered the United States of America. Sure, we've always had enemies, because evil does not like good, right? But for the most part, people revered the United States. That's why everybody wanted to come here. They wanted to be part of America, be part of that American dream. All these things made the United States a global superpower. And you can't have a global superpower in the way when you've got an agenda over here by a bunch of elitists that want to rule the world. So, that world superpower has to be taken down. Hey guys, I'm going to jump in right here and stop the video for a second, because I just rewatched it and I realized there's something I missed, that I left out actually, that's really important, and that is a video clip. And I'm going to play that video clip for you right now. This is a video that was produced by the World Economic Forum, and in it they're just kind of describing some things that need to take place, things that are going to happen revolving around the Great Reset at 2030. But take a look at what they say about the United States. And there's not a military force on the planet, up until just a few years ago, there wasn't a military force on the planet that could contend with us. That's why not since Pearl Harbor has any sovereign territory of the United States been attacked, other than by terrorists, because we were someone not to be contended with. But now we've got to go so the elitists can continue and further their plan. And how do you do that? You do it from the inside. Here's the deal. The United States has to go. And from the inside. So you have all this hatred that is stirring up discontent, separating the people. Never before has our society been so segregated on not just race, but on all issues. We've got government leaders deliberately setting policy, making policy, changing policy, and doing things to deliberately weaken the United States, deliberately weaken our military, so that our adversaries have the capability and ability to override our defenses and to counter our defense systems. We've got, all this deliberate action against our food supply. We've got all this deliberate action against our energy supply. Everything that is happening, if you stop to think about everything that's been going on, it's been deliberate. And it's deliberate to cause the United States to fall, so that the elitist can institute their great reset and have a one world government. That's why it's all happening. If you're a believer, like I am, and a lot of you are, then you know a little something about the 7 years of tribulation and the sign of the times and how the world is going to crumble, before the second coming. And if the Great Reset is going to happen by 2030, then the 7 years of tribulation that quite possibly is going to lead up to that point starts next year. And even if it's not, even if that doesn't happen, that's fine. 2030 is the goal. 2030 is when all the world leaders that are involved in this have signed up to agree to do this Great Reset. There's a lot that's going to happen between now and then. And the United States is already in trouble, but the United States has to fall, and other world leaders or other world economies have to fall in order for all this to take place. And it's happening fast. It's happening at a very quick pace. Now, as a believer, there's an ecclesiastical leader that has mentioned, I don't know, it was like 200 years ago now, that said that there would come a time when the United States would be hanging, the Constitution of the United States would be hanging by a thread. And that's where we're going to evolve to. We're going to get to that point before what we believe is the second coming and Christ comes back. So what's that look like? Well, it's not what we're seeing right now. Not yet. But in my mind, I'm seeing a total society collapse. I'm seeing just pockets or factions of the government still trying to operate in different places where people are trying to uphold the Constitution. I don't think the Constitution hanging by a thread is going to be widespread throughout the United States. I think large part of the United States is going to fall, and you're just going to have patriots in little pockets trying to uphold the laws of the Constitution and instill government amongst all the chaos that's going to erupt and come upon us. That's my take on it. That's where I think we're headed. My predictions for moving forward, how quickly is this going to happen? Well, based on what I just told you, I would say in the next in the next 12 to 18 months, it's all going to come down. And it could come down much sooner than that. But I think in the next 12 to 18 months is when we're going to really see society start to collapse, because our society has to collapse in order for the one world government to step forward and do what they want to do. Remember, they want population control. They want to control the people. And the one way you control the people is control the food. That's why you see such an attack on our food supply. And that's why you're going to continue to see an attack on our food supply. You know, as a veteran, I never thought we'd get to this point. I think the Constitution of the United States was divine inspiration by those John Adams and those others who wrote it. I think it was of God for a specific purpose. And I think that everything that is happening around us now is for a specific purpose. I think it's a way of what we talk about in my religion is, you know, separating the wheat from the tares, separating the good from the evil, to see how many people will continue pushing forward righteously, doing the best they can with all the hardships that's being thrown at them, and seeing how many people are going to cave and fall to the evil that is all around us. And I think that's just part of God's great plan. So that's why I'm a firm believer that all these things around us are happening for a reason. I think they're planned by evil here upon the United States for it to happen. And I think, I think it's going to happen. And I think as a society, we're in big trouble. I urge you to do everything you can to prepare. Number one prep is, if you're a believer, get right with God and stay right with God. Do what you can spiritually to stay strong so that you can contend with whatever evil comes your way. If you're not a believer, that's fine. Believe in whatever it is that you believe in. But do everything you can to prepare food and water and medical supplies. Do everything you can. Because truly there's going to be a time in the near future where whatever you have is what you're going to have. I think this is going to be probably my most important video. When I go back and rewatch this to see how it turned out, you know, hopefully I'm happy with it, because I don't intend on recording this again. I already tried it a couple of different times and I just didn't have the thoughts gathered, and I was having trouble, you know, bringing it all together. And this morning I woke up and said, today's the day I've got to get this information out there. It's just too important. So however rough it is, I hope you found it valuable. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to hype something that I don't believe in. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to throw conspiracy theories out there, because I don't like conspiracy theories. But for me, with all the research I like doing, and I do a lot of research. I really like reading the news headlines from all kinds of different sources to get big picture. And everything that I'm seeing paints an ugly picture, and that's what I'm trying to convey to you today, so that you understand big picture too, and understand that by design the United States is supposed to fall, and that's why all these things that are happening, and that's why they are manufactured, most of them, that they are manufactured and very deliberate. And once you understand that, it helps you to plan for your future. And I hope you plan wisely, like I said, and just do as much prepping as you can. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It's important this video gets out to as many people as possible. Side note, I have no intentions of harming myself. If anything were to happen to me, it's not at my own doing. Okay? Just wanted to say that. If you have questions, I'm sure a lot of you have comments. A lot of you are going to have questions. Leave them below. I'll do my best to respond. And until then, there will be another video. Hopefully, hopefully there'll be another video. But hopefully, it won't be so doom and gloom. And until then, I will see you. Okay guys, I just watched the video and I realized there's a couple of very important points that didn't make it in the video, so I'm gonna bring them to your attention right now. One of the things I wanted to talk about was George Soros. Now that's a name that you should be familiar with. He's known to be just a very evil person, and he's got his hands in his influence into everything. And it's interesting because I just learned recently that apparently he's not a real wealthy man, but he's spending other people's money. Specifically, the World Economic Forum, that organization is backed by well over 1,000 companies. So you got 1,000 like tech companies and oil companies and just companies around the world giving all kinds of money to the World Economic Forum to further the agenda. And so I really believe that's probably the money he's spending, because he himself is not incredibly wealthy. But have you noticed, have you paid attention to how often you hear his name come up in the news? And it's usually tied to somehow an organization that he is involved with donated a lot of money to get certain people elected, or to try to get certain people elected. And if you start researching that or start paying attention to that, you'll realize that he's involved with, getting judges, on the bench. He's involved with getting district attorneys elected, mayors and governors, certainly people in Congress and the Senate. So he is really involved in a lot of places, donating lots and lots of money to help certain people get elected. Yet he's part of the World Economic Forum. So again, I think that is part of the plan, to get certain people in place, certain people with the same ideology, certain people that have already signed up to the World Economic Forum, to get them there so that they're in key positions to have influence over policy and procedures and how things are done, which is contributing to the demise of the United States, as according to their plan. A couple other things real quick. Let's see. We talked a little bit about the military. One of the points I didn't make is specifically, if you've heard a lot recently about the military and how they have become woke, and how they've got all these policies going out there about wokeness and woke training. And trust me, as a veteran, spending 20 years in the military is a really tight-knit, close society. You're talking about men and women who train hard together, they live together on military installations, and they go to war and fight side by side with each other. It's just a really tight-knit group of people. And if you're not a veteran, then it's really hard for you to understand that. But it really is quite a unique group of people. And yet now you have all these policies being thrown around in the military that is causing a lot of discontent, a lot of disruption in how they do business. It is causing a lot of people not even to want to join the military. The military on and off throughout the years have had problems with recruitment. They're having a huge problem with recruitment now. Look at the policies of how many thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people they're trying to get out of the service because they won't take the, and there's just a lot of stuff happening within the military to weaken the military. And let me tell you what, our military is weak right now. We got some great people in the military doing the best they can, but we got a lot of weak people, mostly in key leadership positions. And it's by design. My feelings is it's strictly by design to weaken our military, because it's going to make us an easier force to contend with by our adversaries. Another point I wanted to make was the fact that look how much attention we're giving to the war in Ukraine, how much money that we're sending over there, how much equipment that we're sending over there, and we're so concerned about them and their borders, and yet we don't do anything about our own borders. I think it's two things. One, I think it's money driven, because the more stuff we send over there, the more the military complex here at home has to produce brand new stuff. And so obviously the 10% for the big guy and a lot of other members in Congress are going to get their share as well. So I think a lot of it is money driven, but a lot of it is, have you noticed how much they've been poking the bear? How much, they just keep poking Russia, poking like they're stoking the fire, like they're really trying to get something started. And I think it's by design. I think they want another big war, because it's all going to be part of that chaos that they're trying to create, that's going to weaken us. And in the end, it's going to weaken us, because we are not ready for a major war like that. Let's see here, looking through my notes real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything else. I think that was the other big points I wanted to share. But again, hey, thanks for watching this video, and again, please hit that like button, and because there are bots and there are people out there that are trying to take videos like this down, and the more likes we get, the more chances we have that it's going to break through the algorithm and actually get out there to people so they see it. But again, I appreciate all your support, and I'll see you again soon.